recall that information. Okay? Huh? Yep, we're doing a video right now. Alright, so continuing on. So we already did examples 1, 2, and 3. Let's go ahead and do example number 4. Who can tell me, raising your hand, what relationship is pictured here? What kind of angle relationship is being pictured? Jayla? Very good. So we have a vertical angle relationship that's being formed here. So based off of our notes from yesterday, we stated that these angles are supposed to be equal to each other. So when I set up the equation, I take the angle 3x minus 10 and I set it equal to the angle that's 50. And there's the equation. So now we just have to follow our process to solve it. So yes, I know the process is to isolate the variable and to do inverse operations. But when I ask you what exactly is it that has to be done, I don't want you to say, oh, you do the inverse. You got to tell me what is the inverse. So Zaya, what are we going to do? And what are we going to add? Very good. Or you could easily just say add 10 to both sides, right? So we can add 10 to both sides of our equation. So the 10s are now going to go ahead and be canceled out. We now have 3x is equal to 60. Stop playing tic-tac-toe. I will be letting your mom know, Christian, and your dad know, Kobe. Okay, so we now have it set down to 3x is equal to 60. What is the next inverse operation that needs to be done? Diego? Divide. And what are we dividing both sides by? Well, just 3. Not the x, just the 3. So we're going to divide both sides by the 3. The 3's are going to simplify to having a coefficient of just a positive 1, which is what we're looking for, so that it now looks like the x is isolated. And what is 60 divided by 3? 20. Good. So we get x is equal to 20, which makes sense because, again, vertical angles are supposed to be the exact same measurement. So that means this angle is supposed to be 50 degrees. So if I do 3 times 20 and subtract 10, I get 50. So that's a nice way to be able to check that you've done it correctly. Take whatever answer you get, substitute it back in, and see if it comes out true. Okay? All right, let's go on to another example. I want you to do this next one on your own. Make sure you're referring back through your notes so that when you're looking at what kind of example is being shown and you set the equation up, you follow the step-by-step guide. So what? Conflict?
What if we say x over 2 plus 99 equals 74?
Are those vertical angles?
No.
So, I mean, think in context of the story. Like, what's happening in the story? Like, what is the issue here? Right? Yeah. All right, who thinks they know what x is going to be equal to? What do you think, Manuel?
50.
Not 50. What did you get, Chase?
130.
130. We'll try one more, Danae. 14. Very good. So, Danae, then tell me, what kind of relationship did you see here? Supplementary. Okay, even though they're drawn almost like they would be vertical angles, it's drawn, it's got intersecting lines. However, these are not directly opposite to each other, right? If they were directly opposite, you'd have 74 here and 74 here. Or you'd have, you know, one angle here, one angle here, but they're not. They're side by side. They're adjacent to each other, which means they're forming that straight line. Together, they're forming a straight line, so we know that that's a supplementary set. And if it's a supplementary set, then we're taking both angles and we're adding them together and setting it equal to 180. So I'm taking 74 and I'm adding it with x over 2 plus 99. And then setting that equal to 180. So before I start solving, before I start doing inverse operations, I need to make note of the fact that it's not simplified. Simplified means that you have a single variable with either a divisor or a coefficient, and you've got a single value of your constant, a single number. Well, right now I've got two constants, don't I? I have two constants. I don't want two constants, I want one. So now I need to go ahead and combine those terms together. So I can focus on combining 74 plus the 99 to simplify that expression. I'm going to combine those like terms. So what is 74 plus 99 going to give me? Very good. So we get 173, and we still have that plus x over 2, and it's equal to 180. Now we've got it simplified down. Good job. Now we are going to go ahead and start solving, doing our inverse operations. So what inverse operation are we going to do first? Subtraction. So we're going to subtract 173 from both sides. He was telling me his math exam in 8th grade. So I told him if he didn't do well, I was going to hurt him. All right. So we have 173 that we're subtracting from both sides. Those are going to get canceled out. We're left with x over 2 is now equal to 7. And what's our last step? Multiplication. So we're going to multiply by 2 on both sides, and we'll get that x is going to be equal to 14. Nadia, you have a question? Okay. Those can't be combined. Combine means you're doing what you can combine together on the same side of that equal sign. So remember, it's almost like there's a wall, an imaginary wall. So when you start doing things to opposite sides of the equal sign, that's when you're doing opposite operations, your inverse operations. But when they're on the same sides, you're combining. No, you would use that with subtraction, unless 180 was on the same side of the equal sign. Okay? All right. Try this one. an emergency? Yeah. Hurry up. All right. What'd you get, Jayla? You got x equals 2? It's not 2. Diego? Oh, good job, Danae. All right. So, yes, x is equal to 15. If we look at it, this is a complementary set. So we've got a complementary set of angles, which means that we're going to add the two angles together and set it equal to how many degrees? 90. So we've got 4x that we're going to add with 2x, and it's going to be equal to 90. Okay, so again, you're only allowed to have one variable and one constant. Do we have one variable? No, we've got two. We've got two terms of x's, right? So what we need to do is combine those like terms first. So what do we get when we combine 4x and 2x together? 6x, good. So if we do 4x plus the 2x, it's going to give us 6x. And what does that set equal to? 90. So now you've got 6x is equal to 90. What do we do now? Divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. We're going to get x is equal to 15. Okay? Let's try this one on sides. This one's a little bit different. Still has an angle relationship. What's the angle relationship? Vertical, right? So we know that this is vertical. So when I set up the equation, that means I take this angle, 6x plus 3, and I'm going to set it equal to this angle, 8x minus 17. So now this is a little bit different. Not only do we have more than one variable and more than one constant, but they're actually on opposite sides of the equal sign this time, aren't they? So that was, terms on, or, variable on both sides kind of equations that we did on the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the year. For house points, who can raise their hand and remind us, when we've got variables on both sides of the equal sign, what did we do first for house points? Sorry, Arham, you're not in the class. Santiago? Not distribute. Diego? No. Okay. Jayla, what do you think? Well, we can't combine like terms because combining like terms is when they're on the same side, but now they're on different sides. So there was something I taught you guys how to do or what to focus on. Who remembers what that was? Nadia? What? So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. I had 2 classes that remembered. This is the first class that didn't, so you need to make sure you're focusing. Shh. We take, stop. Seriously. You take the smaller of the 2 variables and you do the opposite operation to the other side. Which one's the smaller of the 2? 6x. So currently 6x, is it positive or negative? Positive. So it's almost like it's got a little plus sign in front of it. So the opposite of that is to subtract 6x from both sides because you need to get the variables over to the other side. So those will get canceled out, and now you're left with a positive 3 is equal, that's positive 3, is equal to 2x minus 17. There's the equation. You've now simplified it to where it is one variable, one constant. Paper towels are right over here. Please clean it up. Shh. We're not doing this. We are still recording. Paper towels are over here. Go clean it up. Now, we've got it down to where it's a 2-step equation. What do we do first? What is the inverse operation? Adding. So we're going to add, stop talking. We're going to add 17 to both sides. That's going to give us 20. is equal to 2x. Next step. Here you go. Divide by 2, you're going to get 10 is equal to x. Variables on both sides? Well, that's the scenario. It's when, I don't know what's so funny, but stop. That's the setup. When we have variables on both sides, you're doing an inverse operation, but it's to the whole term, not just to the coefficient. So normally when I say, oh, inverse operation to 6x, people will go, oh, well, you divide by 6. But now, Tyler, now you're actually moving the entire term, not just isolating. So originally we usually isolate to get x by itself, but now we're moving the entire term over, so that's only using addition and subtraction. To move something to the other side, you add or subtract. To isolate, you multiply or divide. Nope. All right. We got one more problem that we're going to do together, and then I'm going to let you guys have your own time to work on an assignment. Yeah. Yep. It'll have it all. I don't know if it's going to be on paper and pencil yet. All right, so in a situation like this, guys, hey, you've got an x and you've got a y. How do we know which one needs to be done first? Do we do the x, or do we solve for x, or do we solve for y? You want to solve for y? You want to solve for x. So which one? X? Y? Shh. Huh? What do you think, Danae? That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to, it has nothing to do with the numbers. It has everything to do with the relationship, though. If you look up here, the x, shh, the x's, they both happen to be in what relationship? Vertical. So we know how to solve that. Right now, if we look at the y doesn't have a vertical relationship, does it? So, but it does have a supplementary relationship. However, the supplementary relationship it has, it's with something that's got a variable that's not itself. It's got a supplementary relationship with x that's unknown. So you can't really solve for y first because you don't know what x is yet. So you have no idea what this measurement is going to be or what this measurement is going to be. So you actually have to solve for x first so that you can then solve for y. So in a question like this, this would be a DOK 3. And the question literally would be, what does y equal? So you would have to solve for x to solve for y. So that makes it so many multiple layers that you'd have to do. So in this situation, we know that x has the vertical relationship. So when I set this up, vertical relationship, I would do 5x plus 60 is equal to 3x plus 78. So again, you got variables on both sides. So what do? Got to find the smallest variable. And which one is that, Courtney? 3x. So we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. Those 3x's are going to get canceled. 5x minus 3x is going to give us 2x. So we now have 2x plus 60 is equal to a positive 78. What's the next step? Subtract 60. Very good. So we subtract 60 from both sides. That's going to leave us with 2x is equal to 18. What's the last step? divide by 2, and what is x going to equal? 9. So we get x is equal to 9. So I've solved for x, but now I need to solve for y. But again, in order to solve for y, I have to know what this angle equals. So how am I going to figure out what the measurement is for this angle? What do you guys think I need to do? What do you think, Santiago?
Well, you're gonna multiply 5 by x, and then add 60, and then do an inverse operation with the y, like 100.
Well, hold on, you're getting ahead of yourself. So when you just said, hey, multiply the 5 times the x, what do we call that? What are we going to be doing? Hey, the teacher's not here. You have to find a substitute. So if you found an x, you have to substitute it. We're going to substitute the x in, or the 9 in for x. So that's what you need to write down. You're now going to substitute. We're going to substitute x equals 9 into one of these two equations. Does it matter which one of these I pick? No, because they're both the same, aren't they? Vertical angles means they're both the same, so it doesn't matter. I could do it into the 5x plus 60. I could do it into 3x plus 78. Does not matter. They're going to equal the same. I'm going to choose 5x plus 60 because you guys are better with your multiplication of 5s. So, logic. So I'm going to substitute it into the 5x plus 60. So instead of 5 times x, it's going to be 5 times 9 plus 60. Order of operations, I need to do what first? What operation is that? Multiplication. So I have to do the multiplication first. So we got 45 plus 60. What's 45 plus 60? 105. So you get 105 degrees. So this angle right here, and again, it doesn't matter. If I use the 3x plus 78, 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 78 is 105. Both of them are the same. So what this means is that this angle's measurement right here is 105 degrees. That measurement right here is 105 degrees. So, to figure out y, what kind of equation am I going to have to set up to figure the y out? Well, what relationship is this? Supplementary. G's? G's is not a relationship. Unless you're trying to say Jesus, then there's a great relationship right there. All right. So here, this relationship happens to be supplementary. This relationship happens to be supplementary. So when we're setting this up for our supplementary set, we add the two angles together. We got y plus that 105 that we just solved for, and set it equal to how many degrees? 180. 180. The two angles added together is going to be supplementary. Supplementary adds up to 180. So we got y plus 105 equals 180, and now we can start solving it. We can subtract 105 from both sides and get that y is 75 degrees. Okay? Your homework tonight, you've got a worksheet. It is a total of 17 problems. It's a front and a back. 17 problems. Only one of the questions is going to have a decimal answer. That's question number 15.